Hey guys, Andrew here with Independent Verification, and today I'm going to be reviewing the BCZAMD 4040 extrusion belt tensioner for your Ender 3 Pro. Now the Ender 3s use a 2040 extrusion, but this is an Ender 3 Pro which uses a 4040 extrusion. There is a very big difference between the two, so when you're looking for these sorts of products, make sure you get the right one for your printer. Now, this replaces the stock belt tensioning system that, well, you can't really tension it up after it's set in place. As you can see, it uses a GT2 idler pulley, or just a regular GT2 pulley in this case actually, and it's connected via this bolt. Now as you turn this knob, it forces that bolt to come further towards the front of the machine, thus giving more tension to this belt. Assembly is actually pretty straightforward. It doesn't come with any instructions, but if you look at the picture of what it shows on Amazon, it's pretty self-explanatory. One thing I do have a gripe about as far as this design goes is the way it mounts to the 4040 extrusion. I feel like as if they should have just maintained complete direct placement with the standard extrusion connection locations as the stock belt tensioning system. You can say I got one of these big fat bolts right here, and that's going into the 4040 extrusion fully, meaning it's not held in by a T-nut. It actually goes through the extrusion, giving it superior strength and grip. These things come with two sets of T-nuts, one for the left and the right side. And I've only really used one T-nut because I was able to get the stock bolt into the 4040 extrusion into the stock mounting location, which is just a much more secure way to do it. And then use the T-nut in the back here as an additional clamping force. So that's one thing I wish they could have done better. It's probably not difficult to make it line up and build a product around that. But then again, this is not the only 3D printer that uses 4040 extrusions, and I suppose in an attempt to maintain compatibility with other 3D printers, you might go with a T-nut situation because it allows it to be a little bit more flexible in terms of its theoretical applications. One other thing that I don't particularly like is if you look directly down, you can see that these parts of the metal are not parallel, they actually come inward. And because of that, we've got an issue where the bolt doesn't really fit perpendicular, at least not a perfect 90-degree angle. Now, it does still function perfectly fine. I just question why they couldn't have made this a little bit more exact. If this piece right here was just ever so bit shorter, you'd probably correct that issue. It's meant to go on a 4040 extrusion. That is a known dimension. That dimension doesn't change if it's going on that type of extrusion. Just feels like something they could have done better. Now for the price, it's around $17 after tax on Amazon. It's not bad. It does work the way I like it to with these bolts. On my other belt tensioner on my 2020, you'll see the bolt comes inward towards the belt. I don't like that. This product here works the way I like, where the bolt comes outwards away from the belt. Otherwise, you'd have situations where the bolt would go towards the belt, and if it rubbed, well, you shorten the life of the belt. That being said, for what you pay and what you get, it's not bad. Honestly, I personally feel like the stock bolt that goes through this area on the stock tensioning system is more robust. It looks like it's not going to flex as much. You'd probably be better off using the stock bolt, not only because it's got these super high walls on the bolt, which are very handy in case these things ever seize in place, because you can get at it with a pair of vice grips. I find that using the stock parts like bolts and stuff end up being of higher quality than these aftermarket systems, what they provide with them at least. So something to take into consideration. But that's pretty much it. The product does work. It does a pretty decent job. They're using the right size GT2 pulley for this application, which is refreshing. I see a lot of sellers and manufacturers using the wrong size pulley, but as you can see, we're not rubbing up on any part of the extrusion, which is, well, very important. And we'll see how long it lasts, but it's made of metal, and that's good because you can make 3D printed belt tensioners out there, but the moment you start putting them in heated enclosures, it'll start to soften the plastic, and then it won't hold tension, and then your print will fail, and that's ultimately why you get the metal versions that are for sale. So there's a lot of cheap manufacturers out there that don't actually test these things, because a lot of these products are white label manufactured, so trying to find one that actually does the job at a reasonable price is a little bit annoying, but I can say with a reasonable degree of confidence that this one's probably going to be fine.